Well, this Shabbat is kind of a big deal because Eden's becoming bar mitzvah tomorrow. And also because, as Rabbi Keller mentioned more than once, more to mock me than anything, it is my bar mitzvah anniversary tomorrow. Parashat Yitro. It is bar mitzvah anniversary number, take a guess. 10. 10. Okay, 20. That's my final offer. That would be bar mitzvah anniversary 34, ladies and gentlemen, 34. So that would make me 47 very soon. I am headed toward the big 50. And then 60, and then 70, but 50 is the new 30, so that's all good. So let me ask you a question. Why is tomorrow's Parsha, why is this Shabbat such a big deal? Huh? They mumble, Rabbi Keller. Is that 10 Commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot, the Big Ten. And here's the problem. There are only 9 commandments. Let's review. First commandment, anyone? I am Adonai your God, who led you out of Egypt. Number 2, no idol worship. Number 3, no swearing. Don't say God's name in vain. Number 4, Shabbat. Number 5, Kabed Vicha. I love it when you say it in Hebrew. It really makes me happy. Honor your mother and father. Number 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Throw them all together. Don't kill. Don't steal. Don't murder. Well, murder. Not don't kill. Don't murder. Don't covet. No adultery. And no false witness. Don't bear false witness. So there's 10 commandments. There are only 9. So which one is the missing commandment? The first one. Right? The first one is not a thou shalt or a thou shalt not. The first one is Anochi Adonai Elohecha asher hotzeiticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. I can't believe I pulled that off. I am Adonai. See, I still remember my Parsha, Aiden. I also remember the first line in my Haftarah. Ready? Bishnat Mot HaMelech Uziyahu. Does that sound right? I don't know where that came from. But what's cool is in the Haftarah portion, just as a fruitful aside, we hear the proof text the first time, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot. That's in the Haftarah portion. So the first commandment, back to the unfruitful aside, the first commandment is not a commandment. It is, I am Adonai your God who led you out of Egypt. Right? Where's the commandment? Alan, where's the commandment? It's a statement. Right? It's not preceded by a verb. Like, lo ta'aseh, lo tirtzach, don't murder. Lo tignov, don't steal. Or kabed et avicha, it's a tzivui form, it's a command form. Honor your mother and your father. Your father and your mother. There's no verb attached to it. It's just a statement. So what do we do with this? Let me ask you this question then. If it is not commanded that you should believe in God, right? The premise that a lot of people take here is that the first commandment is the commandment to believe in the one God. Anochi Adonai Elohecha. I am Adonai your God. But if it's not commanded to believe in God, but commanded to do all those other things, both thou shalts and thou shalt nots, is belief in God a choice? Is it a choice? So someone tell me an argument in favor of if I want to believe in God or not is my choice, but the other, by the way, I just want to say the other 9 are not choices. These are mitzvot, they're commandments. Someone make the argument for me that if I want to believe in God, I don't have to because it's not commanded. If I want or I don't want to believe in God, I can believe in God, but I'm not commanded to believe in God. So someone make that argument. Lori.
If there's one, have no other God before you,
That's the second commandment.
I know. But
Oh, you're saying they're attached.
Yeah, but the inference is, if you have no other before you, then I am it.
So Lori's saying something very important, which is, it's not inferred, it's actually literally there, that the first commandment and the second commandment are tied closely together. I am Adonai your God, and you shall have no other gods beside me. Very, very excellent point. They're tied together. And you could argue that all of them are tied together, right? They're on the tablets. We saw it with Charlton Heston. They're on the tablets, right? Or if you're more of a Mel Brooks fan, there were originally 3 sets of tablets. I bring you these 10. All right, so that's a very good point. But I want to read it literally. If we say there's 10 commandments, there's not 9 plus 1 is tied into 1 and 2. Well, let's look at that. Yes, Jeff.
I would say that you don't have to believe in God, and I would argue that to be a good Jew, if you live by the moral and ethical teachings of the Torah, whether you believe that there's a supreme being or not, you're still a Jew and a good Jew.
Excellent point. Another excellent point. I don't have to believe in God to be a good Jew. In fact, the inference actually of the first commandment stand alone, without the second one tied to it, is if I do these other 9 things, which are attached to tangential mitzvot as well, I'm still a good Jew, right? I can be a good Jew. The 10 Commandments tells me so, what to do and what not to do, and that I don't necessarily have to believe in God in order to do or not do these things. I mean, I don't have to believe in God in order to do good and make good choices. Any other arguments? I like 3s. One more argument for or against. This is a commandment. It's not a commandment. Yes, ma'am.
Whether you believe in me or not, I'm here and I won't do what you
God's just making a statement. Whether you believe in me or not, I am God. I took you out of Egypt, like it or not. It's like a parent saying to a kid, you don't have to like it. I'm your parent. And God is saying, I'm God. Believe in me, don't believe in me. I'm still God. Here are my expectations of you. Right? Very, very much a great conversation. Thank you all for participating. I want to tell you a couple commentaries about this. One is a commentary from the medieval period. He says, this is a rabbi named Crescas, Spanish rabbi, says the following. He who includes among the list of positive precepts, positive commandments, belief in the existence of God, fails into a common error. The very character of the term mitzvah, commandment, indicates by definition that it can only apply to matters governed by free will and choice. But that is, in other words, by the way, the term mitzvah, the term commandment, which is a verb, indicates by definition that it can only be done by a choice. You either do it or you don't do it. You choose to do it or you don't do it, and there's not a halfway. Right? There's not a, I'll do part of the mitzvah. This is my favorite thing to say to people who say, I keep kosher, except at restaurants. Right? Does anyone know anyone who says that? I keep kosher, except for when I go out to eat. I keep kosher, except for when we order treif, we get out the paper plates. So as not to trick. This happens, people. And the truth is, you either keep kosher or you don't keep kosher. It's that simple. There's no halfway. You can't be sort of pregnant. You either are or you're not. You either keep kosher. Now, when people argue there are levels of kashrut, no, there are not levels. There is one level of kashrut. And that is, here are the things you are not allowed to eat. Those are treif. And here are the rules about separate sets of dishes. And here are the rules about utensils. And here are the rules about hooves. It's black and white. And so, going back to the commentary, matters of free will and choice, kashrut's a perfect mitzvah, perfect example. You either keep kosher or you don't keep kosher, right? There are no levels of kashrut. There's no, I do one thing at restaurants and I do another thing at home. You either are or you're not a person who observes kashrut. But faith in the existence of God, he continues, is one of those things which are not governed by free will and choice. Consequently, the term mitzvah cannot apply to it. The first mitzvah, therefore, the first commandment, is not a mitzvah. Whether you believe in God or not, God exists. And moreover, belief in God is not a choice because God exists. As I say to the confirmands, we just talked about this a couple weeks ago, because we go around and there are confirmands, they're 16, they're sophomores in high school. There are adults who say, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in God. And the response from this point of view is, believe in God, don't believe in God. God exists whether you believe in God or not. It's that simple. A little more complex, but more or less that simple. Another sort of famous rabbi, Moses Maimonides, Rambam, says the following. The first mitzvah is that God commanded us to believe in God. That is, that we believe that there is a cause and a motive force behind all existing things. This idea is expressed in the statement, I am the Lord your God. In other words, it is not a commandment necessarily, but if you will, a statement of principle, of purpose, a prelude, tied into not just the second commandment, but all of the commandments. In other words, if you're going to, I actually was about to drink the water with the cap on. You're so excited by the Devar Torah that you didn't even notice. So that is to say that the first mitzvah, Maimonides says, is a mitzvah. It is a mitzvah. You're commanded to believe in God. Why? Because there is a cause and a motive force behind all existing things. You can't be, Jeff, no offense, but according to this, you can't be a good Jew and do all of those good Jew things without believing in God. There's no point. Why? Because there's a mitzvah, a commandment, and a mitzaveh, a commander, and they are inseparably linked. Right? I don't follow commandments out of thin air or in the abstract. I follow commandments, or I heed to the commandments, because there is a mitzaveh, a commander. Now, by the way, I agree with you, Jeff. Personally, you can be a very good Jew and not have an exact belief in God, or be unsure. In fact, you should be unsure. So finally, in the Jewish code, it says, last commentary, this first commandment, constitutes the most fundamental of fundamentals and the pillar of all sciences, to know that there is a first cause bringing into existence all existing things, and that all that exists on heaven and earth and between the two exists only through the truth of God's existence. That is to say, in this commentary, it's not a mitzvah. Well, the first one is that the first commandment is not a commandment because there's no free will. The second commentary is that it is a commandment because you need a mitzaveh, a commander, in order to do a commandment. But the third is saying neither of those is as important. The important thing is that all of existence is because of God, right? The first cause that brings everything into existence, this is almost Maimonidean and a little bit of Aristotle in there. Maimonides says that God is the first mover, the cause of all causes. And so if you're just going to be alive, forget about the mitzvot and the commandments. Just to be alive, to merely breathe and walk and communicate and learn is a function of God, inseparably linked to God's existence. Again, it's more than just saying God exists whether you believe in God or not. It is saying the fact that you are alive proves that there is a God, because God is that mover, that first mover. So what do we learn? Well, we learn from these three commentaries that it's not so clear as to whether or not the first commandment is a commandment or not. And I like the third one. The third one suggests we can have that argument, we can get excited about whether or not we can or can't believe in God and the mitzvah and the free will and all of that. But ultimately, it's about our existence. In our existence itself as human beings, as recipients, as those who received our ancestors and us, because all stood at Sinai, the Ten Commandments, we are all here on this earth doing mitzvot, doing commandments for the purpose of service to God, the mitzvah, but also because God exists. We don't exist without God. Funny thing, God can exist without us, but we don't exist without God. And so on this Shabbat, I want you, during your Shabbat dinners, at your tables, wherever you're going, Tomorrow, please come and hear Dr. Marmer, who is one of the smartest people in the world, one of the Rabbi Keller's teachers and my teacher, but not directly as much as Rabbi Keller. He gave a brilliant talk last night. He's going to do a brilliant talk again tomorrow. I told Rabbi Keller, if you don't come, it's like the Dalai Lama showed up of the Jewish people and you missed it. You don't want to miss Chaver Torah tomorrow morning. Think throughout this Shabbat about God. And not so black and white. I believe in God, I don't believe in God. Think about the idea. Push yourself to the idea that God exists whether you believe in God or not. And your existence is a result, a product of God's existence. And then, and only then, you can think about mitzvot, commandments. And which mitzvot, which commandments you choose to live by. You choose to live your life by in service to God. Jewish values are in many ways universal, but Jewish values are also particular. You, me, us are in covenant with God. We have a brit. That brit was made in this week's Parsha. The Jews said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will listen. When you identify those mitzvot, those commandments, don't say to yourself, just pause, because your temptation will be to do this. Don't say, I'm doing it because I'm a good person. I want to be a good person. Just say to yourself one time, I'm doing what I am doing because God asked me to do it. I'm doing what I'm doing in service to the primordial force of existence. I am doing it because I'm commanded to do it as a Jew, and I am in covenant. And see how it feels. See how it feels to change your point of reference for doing good things, for doing mitzvot. And I think you will find a different experience, something that you can learn from and live by. And on the Shabbat, as we hear from the Ten Commandments, I think we can all agree that if every one of us did a better job of learning from and living by these very basic values and principles of Judaism, that our world would not just be a better place, that's trite, but our world would be transformed. Transformed. And God's presence, that presence of justice and goodness, that presence would rule the earth again toward goodness and peace. Shabbat Shalom.